adventure. So there's only one way to figure it all out. Unzip the archaeology. Make it naked.
Crawl in and the worms crawl out. Your brains come tumbling down your snout. Be merry, my friends, be merry.
Herod the Great casts one of the darkest shadows of the Christian Bible. He was the king of Judea, and he tried to kill the infant Jesus. According to the Gospel of Matthew, it was he who ordered the slaughter of the innocents, the attempt to kill Jesus by killing all the babies in Bethlehem. And then, 2 years later, nearing the age of 70, death caught up with him. But even if you believe in divine retribution, Herod's end was particularly nasty. His people couldn't wait to be rid of him, but even more impatient were the worms. While the king watched, they wriggled out of his genitalia. The Bible paints Herod the Great as the great villain. History indicts him for countless murders and political assassinations. As villains go, his worm-ridden death was deliciously disgusting. But for over 2,000 years, the actual disease that dethroned Herod has remained a mystery. What killed Herod? The answer to that mystery might hold the key to explaining part of the savagery of Herod the Great. After all, worms in your willy might put you in a bad mood as well. Would you think I'm a wimp if I close my eyes? Okay, I'm not looking, I'm not looking. Okay, not looking. Something, okay, maybe we could switch this one. Dr. Jan Hirschman from the University of Washington School of Medicine in Seattle has studied the descriptions of Herod's final days as written by first-century historian Josephus. Hirschman is trying to diagnose Herod 2,000 years after his death.
He said he was itching all over his body. He said that he had breathlessness that was particularly worse when he lay down, also associated with a racking cough and a foul breath. So I'll just change it to the next one.
To learn more about our patient, I traveled to Caesarea, an old port city built by Herod. At the time of Jesus, it was one of the greatest ports in the world. To this day, people come from all around to tour the site. Before he was Herod the Great villain, he was Herod the Great builder. In fact, one of the greatest builders the ancient world ever saw.
Okay, y'all. Welcome to Caesarea, ancient Caesarea, the planned city built by none other than... Who was it built by? Herod. Herod the Great.
We can run this little tour together.
Okay, Herod the Great, who built lots of things all over Israel, including the expanded, beautified Second Temple, right? So he built Caesarea, named it after Augustus Caesar, right? His mentor.
I just want to know, why
what's
are
this
you
part
calling
called?
him great? He killed his wife, he killed his kids. He killed you. Why are you calling him great? Why don't you call him crazy?
You're right. He was crazy. He was paranoid. Like you said, he killed his best friend Hippicus. He killed his brother Fatsael. He killed his favorite wife Miriam. He killed Miriam's 2 sons who were in line for the throne. He killed countless high priests and all kinds of people, anybody he thought
But he was
betrayed
basically
him.
a nice guy?
No, he was basically a paranoid, crazy guy. But the thing that was great about him is he was a great builder. And he built lots of beautiful buildings, cities all over the country. So that's the reason I called him great.
He may have had his mind set on building his way into history, but most of us know only his history of trying to kill the infant Jesus.
Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there till I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him.
But what can we really say about this story? Dr. Peter Richardson, professor of religion at the University of Toronto, is a Herod expert. He literally wrote the book on Herod. He's not a cross-dresser, he just likes dressing up like Herod. As for me, well, when in Rome.
The one thing that Christians think they know about Herod the Great is in that episode that is always told at Christmas time. And he's killing all the children under 2 years of age in Bethlehem because somebody's told him that a future Messiah, a future king, was born in Bethlehem. So by getting rid of all the children, he gets rid of a rival somewhere down the road. That story is told to us in only one text, the Gospel of Matthew. I think it is an exaggeration of his execution of 2 of his own children in the very same year.
Dr. Isaiah Gaffney of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, expert on first-century Jerusalem.
What do you think? I mean, did he kill all the babies and all this kind of stuff?
You can't disprove it, you can't prove it, right? Clearly, he did put to death those people who would have been perceived by him as being a challenge to his total rule over the country. Whether that means that he killed the innocents or the babies or what have you, there's no way of proving.
The biblical Herod was an old man, already diseased and dying. But what was he like as a young man? In order to reach a diagnosis, Dr. Hirschman had to construct a lifelong medical record for Herod.
Young Herod, from a physical point of view, was very robust. He was a warrior, he was an athlete. He seemed to have a very good health. There was some chest wound, which apparently was a minor one, and no other mention of any illness until his mid-40s, when he had some vaguely described problem in which he had inflammation and pain at the back of his head, accompanied by some mental confusion. It seemed as though it was going to be a fatal illness, but he recovered, and after that, again, no mention of any problems physically until just at the time of shortly before his death.
Herod must have been healthy and strong for most of his life, because he survived assassination attempts, poison plots, even a shipwreck. You'd think that after all that, a king could at least come home, put on slippers, and relax on his throne.
Take it easy, dear. Relax.
Oh, these little women have a way, but maybe
Nope.
I forgot to
His
say.
domestic life alone would have done many a man in. The poor guy had to juggle 10 wives, eunuchs, spies, poison plots. The king's life was so complicated, you'd never keep track of it all. Unless you're Canadian Grandmaster of all things Herodian.
Quick, Ron.
Yes.
I need info on Herod.
Then Herod hears the rumor that 3 of his eunuchs have taken bribes from his son Alexander to usurp the throne. Herod gets suspicion, sends out spies. Soon everybody's denouncing everybody else. It doesn't matter if you're guilty. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. Everybody gets tortured equally. The Romans are marching around with armies all over the place. Anthony and Cleopatra are doing their thing in Egypt. Julius Caesar's doing his thing. There's Pompey running around. Wait a minute, Pompey's already dead.
Okay, now that that's all clear, look, don't try to keep it straight. The point is to get a glimpse of the pressure surrounding Herod. Our best clues to Herod's state of mind come from the archaeology. Some people say manic building has Freudian undertones, psyche carved into stone. What do Herod's buildings tell us about the pressures he faced, caught between his Roman neighbors and his Jewish subjects? This is a 1:50 scale model of Jerusalem at the time of Jesus and Herod the Great. Even the Romans recognized that Herod had built Jerusalem into one of the most beautiful cities of the ancient world.
The Romans talk about Jerusalem as being the most famous city of all of the East and not only of Judea. Beginning with Herod's time, Jerusalem was a beautiful city and certainly well known to the Romans of the day. Herod built a Roman theater in Jerusalem, and this is one of many elements that really changed the nature of the city. It became much more of a Hellenistic Roman city, even though the Temple Mount clearly stressed the Jewish aspect of the city. And so what you have here really is a hybrid. On the one hand, he's a Jew, and there's no question about his legitimate claim to being a Jew. But on the other hand, he's very Hellenized. He's really part of the Greek and Roman world. The palace with two wings to it over here, one named after the Roman emperor, the other after the commander of the Roman armies.
He was naming the palace after the Roman emperor?
After Augustus, the Roman Caesar.
He was sucking up to them.
Well, you might call it that. He was on very good
relationship. Is that historically true?
Yes. He had a very good relationship, a very good working relationship with the Roman emperors. And they got what they wanted out of Herod, which is basically law and order, maybe in reverse sequence. In other words, they needed really order more than anything else. Herod could supply that.
Roman lackey or a master of realpolitik? Either way, Herod's political success gave him the stability to pursue his passion for building.
I would say if you were writing an architectural history of the 1st century BC, Herod would be right at the top of the list in terms of his creativeness, his innovation, his brilliance.
Brilliant in life, brilliant in death, as I'm about to uncover at the Herod family tomb. Herod had such a reputation for being a fantastic builder that when anything from the 1st century that's beautiful is found, everybody says it must be Herod. And when this tomb was found in the late 1800s, it was so beautiful that everybody suddenly said it must be the Herod family tomb. You can see embedded in the rock here a rolling stone, as described in the Gospels from the 1st century, which would block the way to this amazing tomb with this giant courtyard over here. So, we don't know. Maybe it is the Herod family tomb, maybe it isn't. What we do know is if he liked you, he treated you good even after death. If he didn't like you, or if you really got him angry, he made sure that death came sooner rather than later. And that's what happened with his beloved wife. He killed her. And that's what happened with 3 of his sons. He killed them too.
There's a well-known story that Herod at one time killed his sons, whom he suspected of plotting against him, to which the Roman Emperor Augustus said, better to be the pig of Herod than the son of Herod. This, by the way, is a play on Greek words. The word for pig in Greek is hios, and for son is hios. In other words, better to be his hios than his hios. And so a Jew would never slaughter a pig for obvious reasons, but he might slaughter his sons, in this case Herod slaughtering his son.
Did you come to any conclusions about whether Herod was nasty to begin with, or whether he was actually a normal guy until his scrotum started falling off?
He seemed to be more cruel and more paranoid than he had been throughout his life at the time of his illness. I think sometimes the suffering that they have undergo during their illness does create problems in the way in which they manage to deal with other people.
Nearing 70 years of age, Herod was struck down by an illness that racked his body with pain and a fierce itching. If he wasn't mad before, this would have done the trick. Josephus records that worms were living in his privates. This would have been the result of advanced gangrene in his privates.
What, do you want to see a picture of the gangrene?
You have a picture of the gangrene, do you? We're talking about penis gangrene here. Ooh, I didn't quite.
All right.
Gangrene in his willy wasn't the only time a member caused Herod trouble. Family members weren't just family. Marriages were political alliances. Home life was a grand political game, a game that had rules particular to Judea.
When members of the Herodian family have to marry, let's say daughters, have to marry foreign princes, those foreign princes are forced to circumcise themselves. And if they don't, the marriage is canceled.
Did they have to convert to Judaism?
Well, you know, it's a sort of conversion. In other words, it would be unthinkable for a daughter of the Herodian court to marry a prince who was not circumcised. And he required this. So this is the Jewish side to Herod.
He had a Jewish side.
Yes.
At the wedding, did he force them to eat gefilte fish?
I was not there.
It's possible.
Yes. Can I go home?
You want to go? You don't like this line of thinking? Wait, we need to get... Fretting over family foreskin wasn't his only pressure. Trouble with his neighbors cost a few sleepless nights as well. His Roman neighbors included Brutus, Augustus, Mark Antony, and to the south, his sworn enemy, Cleopatra. Dr. Gabby Barkay is a Jerusalem archaeologist familiar with the web of plot and intrigue spun around Herod by Cleopatra.
She hated the guts of Herod, and after every night of a love affair with her favorite Roman rulers, she got as a present.
She was hot, right? Cleopatra was very hot, according to history, right?
Yeah, I prefer Liz Taylor.
Oh.
In any case...
and after every night with her Roman lovers...
She got the income of the plantations of Jericho. Herod was afraid that all his kingdom will be given as a love present to this lady.
Herod outlived Cleopatra. His building continued. But this manic building wasn't just Freudian overcompensation. As we're about to find out, it wasn't just a case of my column is bigger than yours. So, was Herod's manic building Freudian overcompensation? Just a case of my column is bigger than yours? According to Professor Richardson,
I think he was really trying to stimulate the economy. So I think he was trying to do great public works in order to keep everybody employed, in order to keep money flowing, in order to move the economy ahead.
He's a pretty smart cookie. I mean, he's playing political role, he's sucking trade to that area, he's getting everybody building and working.
People have been prevented from seeing some of those other dimensions to his time as king.
Because of his dementia?
Because of the horrible reputation that he had.
So in order to get a holistic view of Herod, we've taken a bit of a look at his family tree, his political world, all important aspects to understanding the mind and mental state of our patient. Now, to get back to the purely physical symptoms, abdominal pains, shortness of breath, and itching. How does Dr. Hirschman determine which is the most important symptom?
There aren't many generalized illnesses that cause itching, and so my assumption was that itching was an important part of the entire illness. Unlike abdominal pain or shortness of breath, for which there are dozens and dozens of possibilities.
The itching may be the most important symptom from a medical point of view, but let's be honest. We really want to know where the worms in the willy came from. Well, this is Hirschman's theory. Itching led to scratching. That introduced bacteria, and that infection led to gangrene, a prime breeding ground for maggots.
I can kind of, yeah, what's that?
Those little white portions are the actual maggots themselves.
They're flies, basically, we're talking about, right?
They're flies.
Baby flies. I just want to stand this straight. You're saying that Herod would have got gangrene in his penis, and then as the tissue died, flies were laying their eggs in his penis.
In the dead area of the skin, dead tissue.
It seems like, you know, divine retribution here. I mean, major, big time.
Now, it's not enough to know how Herod behaved. We need to know the context of how other people got along in Herod's days. After all, we judge our health in comparison to others.
Now, if you would see Herod in the context of history, if you would look at the court of his friend Augustus in Rome, Augustus' mother, Livia, actually killed everybody who would have been a threat or even possibly getting to a position that would make him or her dangerous politically, so she would kill everybody surrounding her.
So compared to Livia, you're saying Herod's a good guy?
And these political murders were part of the spirit of the period.
But the Christian Bible, it says he's cruel.
Yeah.
The rabbinic literature says he's cruel.
But don't
Josephus Flavius
don't
says he's
forget
cruel.
that the rabbis admitted that they said that he who didn't see Herod's building didn't see a magnificent building in his lifetime.
Yeah,
and
I mean, does that get you off the hook? You build nice buildings, you can kill your kids?
Look, he was a king of the 1st century BC, and we ought not to forget that. You cannot judge a king of 1st century BC with the standards of the 20th or the 21st century AD. That would be impossible.
Over the centuries, many believed God judged Herod, and the worms were divine retribution. What we do know is that his illness became so bad, he took desperate measures to escape it.
He was given a knife to pare an apple, which he did frequently, and he tried to stab himself, but he was prevented from killing himself by one of his attendants and was therefore lived a little bit longer.
His subjects couldn't wait for his death. But what they didn't know was that after his death, things would fall apart. Within 60 years, the country disintegrated into civil war. The Romans burned Jerusalem. Herod's reign marked the height of fabled Jerusalem's beauty and fame. But what killed Herod?
Final diagnosis would be that he had chronic kidney disease, and that seemed to be the single disease situation that explained all the other problems that he had. The shortness of breath, the abdominal pain, the itching, all of those could be explained by the chronic kidney disease.
Herod needed dialysis.
Yes, I think that's probably right.
Had he had a dialysis machine, he could have lived to kill again.
It's conceivable, or had a transplant, I suppose, although he was pretty old for that. He was 69 at the time of his death.
Following his death in Jericho, he was buried at Herodium with a funeral ceremony, which was probably one of the most fancy funeral processions that this country ever saw.
If you were anybody who was anybody in the 1st century, you were there.
Soldiers, even from Britain, came to participate in the procession, which started in Jericho and ended up near Bethlehem in Herodium.
Did this bring you closer to Herod? Do you feel like his doctor now?
I feel a great deal of sympathy toward the suffering he endured at the end of his life. I think it's considered just some simple problem like itching, for which there wasn't any good treatment at the time. How terrible a suffering that would have been.
Did you wish you could kind of go back in time and give him some antibiotics?
I wish to go back in time and see him and see if my diagnosis was correct.
Can we say Herod's illness caused at least part of his savagery? I mean, chronic kidney disease is pretty nasty, but does it really explain evil? And anyway, for most of his life, Herod seems to have been a robust, healthy warrior, athlete. The archaeology reveals a great man. The written word tells the story of a monster. Who you want Herod to be really depends on whether you put more faith in the word or the stone.
The worms crawl in and the worms crawl out. Your eyes fall in and your teeth fall out. Your brains come tumbling down your snout. Be merry, my friends, be merry.